Scandal.
Scandalous. You're saying, essentially, to break down what you're saying is we should brand them in their foreheads.
No, we shouldn't do that. Hey, right, Space Marine Steve here, Ian. We're going to talk a little bit right now about the competitive meta. So this is something that actually does interest me a lot. I only play Space Marines. When Space Marines are in the dumpster, I still play Space Marines.
Yeah.
I love it. I have a wall of Space Marines that are right there.
You just spend your time punching up.
I just spend my time punching up. Yeah. So Games Workshop brings out a meta watch.
Yeah, they drop a meta watch every once in a while, and it kind of gives you the faction win rates for each army. I'm not really sure where they pool all their data from. I didn't really look that up, but I assume it has partial to do with a couple apps and that just general tournaments and stuff that track that. There's some interesting things that I've seen. I also really like to just see how sometimes Games Workshop does a minor little tweak, and all of a sudden the whole the whole ocean gets disturbed. And also, like, how much do we believe in these percentage win rates from factions?
I don't know how much I really believe it. I think this is like one of those just a lovely like paintbrush stroke from GW going like, it's sort of like this.
Yeah, and what you were talking about, the best players or some of the better players in the game, they don't like to lose. So if something comes out and it is really strong, let's say Necron, Hypercrypt Legion, or Eldar for a while there, they would hop onto that army and they would refine it.
Yeah.
Instead of choosing an underdog and trying to fight their way out of a bag.
No way. They're playing Warhammer to win at Warhammer. Where like I play Warhammer to win with Space Marines. And so like every time somebody comes to me and goes, oh, well, you've got to run this kind of list. You've got to include these kind of units. I'm always like, well, no, because I actually just painted this Redemptor and I want to play it.
Exactly.
Right? So I try and do that. And so my win percentage is going to be all over the place.
The other thing is that the company that's releasing the faction win rate percentages is the company that's producing the game. I see that everything's floating around the 50 plus or minus 5. That's where they kind of want to keep everything. And everything's kind of there, so which is suspect to me.
They have highlighted both Eldari and Necrons as having a win rate that is not really palatable to them, but it really is like right down the middle. And, you know, this could be one of those moments where, you know, someone is in a suit says, bring me the numbers I want, right?
Yes.
And somebody listens and just finds the right math to give them this.
Yeah.
It could be that. I don't know, because I actually don't know where they get all these numbers from, where the third party sites, they actually do have a process and a published algorithm to how they get there.
Yep.
So I recommend just kind of like looking at multiple sites and seeing what's kind of up. But also, I just don't know how much I really believe in these exact numbers when we look at the tournament results. So this one here, the Frontline Gaming Cherokee Open 2024, first place goes to Thousand Suns. Second place, Necrons. Third place, Blood Angels.
Yeah.
GW just told us that Blood Angels have a 40% win rate.
Right.
And are the worst faction in the game. Right. Well, here they are in third place, podium finish, right?
At a 246 player tournament.
Wild.
Followed by
Death Guard,
and Orcs in the top 5.
Right? In the top 5. So we have 5 in the top 5 alone. We have 5 completely separate armies. Honestly, like, regardless of whether or not you believe that 50-50 split right down the middle, this is actually a very healthy finish.
It's showing it, yeah.
It shows.
And it might be because Necrons just have a new codex. Necron is one of the top placing armies currently. It might just be that Necron players are super excited and are finally flooding the local tournaments with Necron armies.
Yeah.
It also is 100% the fact that their codex is really strong.
No, it's really good, yeah. So
it's a bit of both, right? Like you may have been sitting on your Necron for 2 years, and then you finally get a codex, and you go, I want to play this. I'm so dang excited. And then once you hit the table, you realize that your army's a little too strong. You're not going to pull punches. You're going to continue to play because you never know how long you're going to be in the sun for. But something I want to talk about, because now that we're looking at the top 10 from the Frontline Gaming Cherokee Open in 2024, 246 players. That's a lot of people. What happened to number 10?
So
the 10th player, what happened there?
I was not there. and nobody that we know was there. But we did a little like research on the internet, and it turns out the number 10 as of on this website says just disqualified, and it doesn't show the list.
It's been redacted.
It's been redacted, and a very quick Google search reveals that there was some cheating going on.
Right, somebody was playing their army incorrectly and potentially doing it on purpose.
Yeah,
I don't see how you could join and actually get into 10th spot in a 246 person tournament and just not be reading your rules properly.
Yeah,
and we don't know this for sure, but apparently they cheated a little bit before too.
Oh, okay. So there was a little bit of extra.
So there was a potential thing where somebody goes, well, maybe keep your eye on this.
Yeah.
I mean, people mistake rules. It happens all the time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I cannot fault somebody for getting too excited and reading too quickly and then missing a little part and going, oh, dang, I forgot that. But some of the things that were brought up that this person was doing.
It's almost comical.
With their Tau army.
Yeah.
They were abusing a little bit of extra movement. They were doing wound rerolls from Tetra's guiding. What is that?
So Tau have this thing where they can guide units, right? And so what I read that as is like basically what was being done is like, oh yeah, the Tetra will guide, and then because I'm guiding, you'll reroll wounds, which is not really what happens. So
I think that's true for like one unit or something.
Yeah, I don't really know 100%. So we're this is really a comment on cheating. So like, you know, having your crisis states save on 2s all the time,
which was another thing,
which was another thing that allegedly took place.
Yes,
right.
That's another thing. It's all allegedly.
All allegedly took place, right? Like,
and certain units just
re-rolling, right? Like
natively re-rolling.
When I think about cheating in the game of Warhammer, which is in all seriousness, it's kind of like a gentleman's game, right?
Of course, yeah.
Like you said, there's so many rules, like you're gonna get some of them wrong, right? If all of that is true, or even half true, honestly, for you to be a tournament player and playing in a GT of that size, winning that much, honestly, like, you know, I could see one of them being mistaken, but for that much to be mistaken, it's very very, very suspect. I kind of straddle the line between, on one hand, like trying to light this person up for cheating, right?
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, too, it's like, man, like we're all here just to have a good time, and like you must like whatever this is, you need this. Like,
yeah, that's
right?
such a weird feeling, being like, oh, let's play a one-on-one game and, you know, let's both have fun. I'm trusting that you understand all the rules for your army, because there's so many armies and there's so much rules, and you can only have knowledge of as much as you can possibly withhold. I'm going to trust that you're not going to cheat on the movement phase. You're not going to try to sneak half inches here and there.
Yeah.
You're going to know your rules, and then I can
play a clean game.
And I'm going to expect that when I tell you my rules, you're going to trust me.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be that, oh, I need to check that. I need to check that. Sometimes stuff comes up and it's suspect, and I go, I need to check that. And it comes back. Let's say they're correct, and you go, that's so weird because I play like 2 different armies and it's worded almost the same, but then there's just like 4 words that are a little bit different, and that changes the whole dynamic.
Yeah,
you know?
And GW is not particularly consistent with the way that they word things sometimes.
No.
And so, you know, when something happens where you legitimately think to yourself, like, is that right? Like, wow, okay, I just would love to read the rules, right? Just so you have a clearer understanding. You're totally within your rights to ask those things. However, like, you know, you have a social contract with the person across the table that you're going to try and act in good faith in that moment, right? That you're going to be making sure that your rules are as clear and as clean as they need to be. When you make the decision to win the game based on cheating, you have now broken this social contract. And when the time comes, and it is usually when the time comes that you are discovered, right? It is really hard to build back like trust in that social contract, right? Once broken, it's so hard to earn back, because no matter what happens, your opponent is very simply going to not trust the things you say.
Yeah. So we should, you're saying, essentially, to break down what you're saying, is we should brand them in their foreheads.
No, we shouldn't do that. What I'm saying is, like, if you have the inclination to cheat, like you need to like take a real step back because whatever is making you think that this is the right choice, like it is not worth it. Right? Like it is not worth it. And you can ask basically any cheater that's ever been caught. Like I used to play like competitive Magic the Gathering, rife with cheaters sometimes. The stories are insane. And sometimes comical. And there was even old Warhammer stories too, like people throwing dice away in garbage cans because they rigged them.
That actually happened a couple months ago at a major tournament. A guy was busted with fixed dice.
Yeah.
And he threw them in the toilet.
Yeah.
And then he tried to flush them.
Yeah.
I assume he threw them in the toilet, flushed them, and then walked out.
Yeah.
And so he was like, oh, I don't have any rigged dice. What are you talking about? Somebody went into the bathroom, looked in the toilet, and there was 2 dice.
Still in there.
One a 6 and one a 1.
Yeah.
So you could use them accordingly,
yeah,
as whatever you wanted them to be.
Yeah.
Some people just have a need to win, and it feels really bad in the game when it happens. Especially imagine if you were playing this big tournament, you were super excited about it, and you know these guys are putting in so much work to have a great venue, try to give everybody the best time ever, and you go up against this guy and he's your one loss.
Yeah,
it would crush it. I'd be really mad.
And it sours the experience for everyone, right? But then at the same time, there is an element of like, you know what, like people do make mistakes, and I'm not saying mistakes like, oh, I've read my rule wrong. Sometimes people make the wrong choices, and I do think as a community we also need to be forgiving, especially when someone is doing the hard work to be like put things right. And I think that there is an element of, okay, like you've been caught, time for you to take a bit of a time out, right?
Yeah.
Think about things.
Well, they need time to recover after their forehead gets branded.
Oh, yeah. Of course. Well, of course.
You're going to be out for at least a couple weeks.
A couple weeks. But you need to take a time out, really think about why you're playing the game, what you like about it. And if tournaments are for you and that is the thing you actually want, it's time to come back. But you know that what you're coming back into, right? Now you've got to earn back the social trust. It's way more difficult, right?
It just seems weird that you would, like, it's essentially the same as playing a video game with cheats.
Yeah.
And that can be fun if you've beaten the game and there's just a couple things you haven't seen and you wanted to get to. But it just seems so weird that you would bring that into real life and expect not to get caught, especially with the app today where you can just go, oh, I'm going to see what that looks like. And you just, oh, no, you're incorrect.
Yeah.
That's one thing. But going, you're wrong about that, you're wrong about that, you're wrong about that, you're wrong about that. Okay, you made it to the top 10 and you were consistently wrong.
Yeah.
I would hope that this person didn't know that they were messing up the rules that bad, but I find it hard to believe.
It's hard to believe. And you know what? They were disqualified for a reason. The judge made the call.
Good call.
And the, you know, that is the way that it is.
Well, you couldn't let that person continue on in 10th place knowing that they've made mistakes with their own rules over the course of, 9 games.
Yeah, it's not happening.
And I could see it happening more and more once the app starts to get sort of replaced by codexes and you go, oh, wait, I want to look up that Necron rule. Oh, but I don't have the Necron codex.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm hoping eventually Games Workshop will just be like, here's the first quarterly codex pack that everyone can just buy and download on the app.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, okay, well, if I ever want to look up something on this codex, I can.
You can.
I can.
Right.
I think that would be a really smart play.
Yeah, the app does make it a lot easier to kind of like, look at things yourself. But ultimately, like, the game is a social contract. If you make the choice to break said social contract, one, like, it's your responsibility to put it right. It's your responsibility to take ownership over the mistake that you've made. Mm-hmm. And then it is the community's responsibility to, one, hold you accountable, like that is how it works, but also then recognize when the good work gets done to build back the social trust. We can't just assume that this one mistake tarnishes their entire life in this hobby. Like, that would be horrible too, right? We, one, have to keep people accountable and uphold the social contract.
Yep.
We also, two, have to show a little bit of forgiveness. So, like, people say, oh, it's a cheater, it's horrible. Yeah, it is horrible. But as long as they operate in good faith and don't repeatedly offend.
That's the
right.
thing.
There's the thing.
One of the comments was, again, this guy's done it again.
Right. So, and you know what? Like, and there's someone who's not quite getting it. Right.
So do we think we should be forgiving these people, or should we go for the forehead branding? Please post. Hey, please post up in the comments. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. We're gonna try to do as much of this stuff as we can when we have the time. And
Woo!
Oh my gosh.